everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Metamorphosis 3. I am Michael Susko. I am a board member of ATC Studios. I am also the resident dramaturg and the playwriting teacher. So we have all kinds of great things going on at ATC Studios. So thank you for joining us this evening. And also, if you would like to subscribe to our newsletter, go to atcstudios.org and just hit click, and we'll send you our newsletter. What's going on? We've got the youth are doing great things. We've got the Friday night series, which has been an enormous success, which could not have happened without the pandemic. Go figure. But yes, there's been fantastic things going on. So as far as Metamorphosis, a letter to my mother. Metamorphosis is the brainchild of the producer, Jane McDonald, who is also one of the writers this evening. And she was just having a conversation during the pandemic. What aren't we talking about? How can we use our art to peel back all those layers and empower others to ignite change? And it's through the theatricality that this is how we want to embrace this. So this is the third series, and they're really quite fantastic. So thank you. A Letter to My Mother there are a series of monologues written by daughters to their mothers. A lot of beautiful stuff has been coming out of this, so I applaud the bravery of these fine ladies. I want to say, let's get ourselves going and let's embrace A Letter to My Mother. The first up, we have Putting You on Notice, written and performed by Andy Young.
My dearest mother, I am putting you on notice. Now, as I look back on my life as your daughter, I want you to know how I felt when you were hospitalized many years ago. You are in pain, but once I walked into that hospital room, you mastered with strength and indifference. I asked you about it and you said it was women's trouble. It's okay, and you changed the subject. Years later, I started having pain in my lower back and my pelvic area, pressure in my stomach, and heavy periods. I was in constant pain. And I, like a fool, thought I should be able to bear this pain and go on with my everyday life. And I did it for over a year until I told you about it. And you said, "You damn fool, go to the doctor and figure out what's going on." Yes, you did. And I did. And thank you for your words of wisdom. I was diagnosed with fibroids, and these growths were in my tiny body, and they were the size of grapefruits, pressing against my organs and in places where no growth should go. They were so huge that my body thought that I was 4 months pregnant. And they were located inside my uterus walls. They had to be gouged out, and my uterus had to be reconstructed. It was pretty serious. But they were not only painful, they did a job on my psyche. My insecurities crept in, and I started to doubt myself as a woman. Was I still a woman with a reconstructed uterus? Will it still work the same? And if I'm not able to have kids, am I still a woman? Mother, I felt incomplete. But I went to physical therapy for my mind, for my body, and psychotherapy to rebuild my mind, my confidence, my truth. But My issue with you is we never discussed what caused you to go to the hospital, which was endometriosis. We never discussed how it affected you, me, and women. Shame on us. And shame on me for not for just dismissing it and thinking it wasn't serious because it happens to women. And shame on you for just not discussing it and not telling me that it may affect me. In fact, shame on the whole entire society for thinking women's health issues don't matter. And what makes us believe that our health, our female organs, our uterus, our vaginas, our ovaries, and breasts don't matter? Why should it be kept quiet, silenced, ignored? Society's made us feel that way. And I was falling into that same trap. The world tells us mothers are selfless and they put everyone else's needs above our own. And women are pillars of strength. That's bullshit. If you put everyone ahead of you, who takes care of you in your moment of need? And if we're busy showing this great pillar of strength, how is anyone supposed to know that it's just a facade? And that on the inside that we're screaming for help? All these falsehoods are killing us, women, and it has to stop. And mother, listen, I understand why you kept quiet. I get it. Well, the silence stops here, and I'm putting you on notice. I will talk to my sisters, my nieces, my friends, and I will shout it out to the world. And I want you to join me. And I know after reading this letter, you're going to reply in the style that only you can do by saying, you don't come with directions. And you're right, I don't. But I love you. Let me know if you're up to the challenge. Your warrior daughter, Andy.
Next up, we have Human Touch, written and performed by Nicole Gut.
Mother's Day comes and goes. Every year I send you flowers. You've always been there for me, through thick and thin. Good times and bad. When the chips are down, you hurry to my side. When I have the winning poker hand, you're right there applauding. There's one specific time I recall that I would like to thank you for. Remember the times you, Dad, and I stayed in Montreux, visiting the jazz festival? The atmosphere was electrifying, and there was a party vibe in the air. People were out on the streets, eating and drinking, checking out the scene. Various artists performed at both large and small venues. I loved going to this festival and appreciate it when you took me along. We ate good meals, drank good wine, and even went together to some of the concerts. When it got a little later in the evening, you and Dad would go back to the hotel and I would have to decide what else I wanted to do. One time, both you and Dad had retired to your room, and so I went out alone to check out some of the more avant-garde venues in Montreux. I started watching one act, but then got bored and started walking around, watching the scenery go by. I felt so alone and upset that I wasn't with anyone, especially not with that special someone. I saw so many people partying with friends and or partners. Finally, I came back to the hotel. I came into your room. He was watching TV in the room next door, and I came into the bedroom. You were in bed, and I was so happy that you hadn't gone to sleep yet. Like, quite often, you were reading a bridge book. You put the book down and saw that I was very upset. You hugged me when I lay down by the side of your bed, and I put my head on your breast. It was so soft and warm and comforting. There is something so nurturing about a mother's human touch. You are now 91 years old and still going strong. Every time I come home, I can hardly wait for your hug and kiss. It's been about 20 years since that time we were in Montreux. And still, you were there for me through the best of times and the worst of times, highs and lows and everything in between. And to quote the Carpenter song close to you, why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Just like me, they long to be close to you. On the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to make a dream come true. So they sprinkled stardust in your hair and gold in your eyes of blue. Your eyes may not be blue. They are a gorgeous hazel brown. But you are true blue, a true blue mom, and I love you.
And next up, we have Happy Surprise, written and performed by Maggie Tierney.
Dearest Mommy, not to be confused with Mommy Dearest, although we did have a couple of wire hanger moments over the years. When you reach a certain age and start hearing family stories and references to past facts, you start to wonder about things. Long ago, when I was a very young girl, we went home to visit your family for the summer. I remember going to the grocery with you and my brother. It was hot and the air was heavy. I remember seeing you talking to a man. You were laughing and giggling and blushing, and quite frankly, acting in a way I'd never seen you act before. I asked you who he was, and you said, just an old friend. I was young, but not stupid. There was a lot more to the story. A few years later in grade school, I heard some girls talking, and the one says her brother was an accident. My inner Diane Sawyer went into overdrive. I would get to the bottom of this one, once and for all. I came home and asked you if I was an accident, and to your credit, you said no. You were a wonderful surprise. So I know I was born in December, and you and Dad were married in August. Math has never been my thing, but I'm pretty sure that since a pregnancy is 9 or 10 months, and even though I was 3 months premature, the numbers don't really sync up. I am thinking I was very much an accident or a surprise. Surprise sounds better. Just like a box of Cracker Jacks. Over the years, I watched your sadness and frustration grow. I knew you and my dad were not happy. I had known this all along from a very young age. I knew it in my heart and in my gut, even though you did a brilliant job keeping Vaseline on that mirror. Around that time, we were driving on a long trip to see my brother at boarding school. It was my chance, alone in the car, you and me. By now, I was a teenager, able to understand the world more fully, and I had you hostage. I asked you how the real story unfolded. Your story hit me like an out-of-body experience. It turns out you were sent away down south for college, away from your high school sweetheart, and in your words, your true love. You meet my father, have sex one time, you get pregnant, your family disowns you. The man drives down to apologize and rescue you and passes you on the road going in the opposite direction. You were in the car with my father going to the justice of the peace to get married. I remember thinking, this is so sad. This movie cannot end this way. How metaphorical. I asked you again, did you want me? And again, you answered yes. It was never a thought to do anything different. I'm not sure I believed you, even though you never gave me a reason to think that. Then we go to an event, and there's the man from the grocery store from long ago. You start giggling and tilting your head like you're auditioning for a part in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. You're laughing and nothing is funny. I was not laughing. I knew what this was. You were in love with another man. You told me you were divorcing Dad. I was not mad that you were leaving Dad. I do wish you would have waited until the divorce was final rather than flaunting it all over our small town, a town where people know what color underwear you have on. You were, and probably always had been in love with this man. I felt horrible, like I was the outcome of a huge revenge mistake. What a sliding doors moment that was for me. I want to say to you, it's okay, Mom, if you did think about making another choice. Most days, I'm glad you did not. I'm not a mother. I was always afraid that I would be the rare species that ate their young. I don't understand how it's possible to love someone fully while you despise the person that you co-created her with. But it happened. I am sorry if I was the cause of a 24-year detour off your path. Years later, you are still with the man from the grocery store, who I love. Even though the two of you married, then divorced again, and are now back together, Richard and Liz, who's afraid of Virginia Woolf anyone. Through it all, I really just want to say that I love you very much for always making me feel wanted. Happy Mother's Day, Mommy.
And next, written and performed by Kathleen Kellaigh, Tightrope.
Hi, Mama. Are you there? I want to confess something to you before you go. And I want you to know before I do that the experience has only made me love you and appreciate you more. I found my birth mother, Mama. I found her after she passed, so I didn't get to speak to her in person. I know you never wanted me to find her. In a way, I guess you got your wish. I think you felt threatened or afraid of that possibility. What were you afraid of, Mama? Were you afraid for me or for you? You know, Daddy kind of pushed me to look for her. I think he would have helped me if I had asked, but he knew too. He knew that it would have upset some weird balance for you. And it might have been the thing that was the final push off the tightrope that you always walked. A tightrope that ran down the center between love and despair. Where are you now, Mama? Are you still on that tightrope? I think you are. but it has changed. Now you are poised between what was and what is to come. You are simply being. And the world you have chosen to inhabit is nothing like I know. Do you know who I am, Mama? I'm the little girl you received not from your own body, but from something greater that was at play. Destiny or fate or the universe. God. God brought us together, Mama. And there are no mistakes. No mistakes, Mama. I guess I need to hear that too. Your retreat from what we call reality is not some dark joke. All is what it is. And what it is includes deep gratitude for you, Mama, for being extraordinary in your generosity of love, for listening to me now, Mama, for understanding this last thing before you go. I love you. Do you feel that, Mama? Take my love with you and dare to fall. Let yourself off the tightrope, Mama, because I will tell you a secret. You can fly. Mhm. Go ahead, Mama. Take my love and fly. With all my heart, your daughter.
Next, written and performed by Elena D. Clark, Unconditionally Yours.
My dear beloved Mama, I know I've not spoken about this in years. Honestly, I forgot about this, buried in the back of my mind. Why could my brain erase those memories? Maybe because they were too painful. When I was growing up, you often used to tell me that no one would marry me because I have a bad temperament. As if a marriage itself is the greatest achievement for a female. But this is how people in our society were thinking back then. Your generation believed that unmarried woman older 20 is an old maid, and it was a shame to be called an old maid. Unfortunately, all this set me up for very dangerous patterns, which caused me to make bad decisions for myself. I'm not accusing you because this is not your fault. You were a victim of wrong beliefs yourself. You stayed in unhappy, not working relationships with my father almost 19 years and still cannot forget what happened. You were 19-year-old when you married my father, 20 when you gave me a birth, and 21 when my sister was born. Siberia, never-ending winter. far from your own home and your own mom. You told me how lonely you felt there. You had no one to advise you, no one to really help you. My father was always busy working and emotionally distant. You practically were on your own with 2 children, far from your own family, just like I'm far from you right now. We always fought for any good or bad reason. I understand now that too much time was wasted on fighting, a valuable time that could be used to love and support each other. You had to go through an uneasy process of dividing marital property between you and my father. You were at the beginning of a new chapter of your life. You ought to live together for us. This is what I kept telling you back then. Why would anyone ever stay in relationships that didn't work? For any reason, even for your children. Why to be with someone you don't love anymore and traumatize your children who will see all this unhappiness and take it to their lives? Soon after your divorce, you met someone who made you happy. You remarried, you had your 3rd child with him. I didn't want to accept him in our home, a stranger who replaced your first husband and my father. I was acting like an unbearable child. I was 18 then, but acted like a 5-year-old. I made everything harder for you. And then on top of that, I got married. Not because I was in love. I knew those relationships wouldn't work. But to prove something. What? I'm still trying to find an answer, an explanation of my destructive actions. I think I did it to establish myself as an independent adult, while I wasn't one. I remember getting married secretly. Then I came with my husband to your home to introduce to you. I remember feeling triumph over you for that achievement, while in reality it was a big mistake with all consequences which took place later. But you always remained a supportive mother, in spite of anything, any surprise I would come with. I don't know how you could find so much love and forgiveness in your heart and the strength to go through all your struggles. I can't believe how strong and courageous you were to become a wife and a mother at such a young age. You took a lot of responsibility, and I admire you for this. Although I didn't understand and support you at that time. But you kept supporting me, even in times when it was hard for you. You could always work around any circumstances for us, your children. Now, when I am an established adult, I realized that you did it all because you loved us unconditionally. Unconditional love is something that exists between a mother and her child, because only a mother could love her child, doesn't matter what she or he has done. But many other circumstances in our upbringing form a pattern of searching for unconditional love when we grew up. And I adapted it too. I left home with the pattern of searching for an unconditional love. not knowing that it doesn't exist between healthy adults. In a form, it exists between a mother and her child. Only the mother can give us a true source of unconditional love. We all love our partners as long as they make us happy. Likewise, our partners love us for making them feel special in relationships. We all seek for support and excellent sex and care in relationships. We love each other for being a good partner and performing our functional, which is really about making another human being feel good. Once we fail to deliver the functional and stop feeling great, we leave those relationships. Only a loving mother will never leave her child, doesn't matter what she has done or has not done. I don't have children, but I have you. And I love you unconditionally. And forgive you for all mistakes you have made. You're my mom. And I know you love and forgive me too. Now, I didn't see you almost 2 years. I feel this emptiness in myself, a hole that could be fulfilled with only your love. And I'm coming home very soon, Mom. Unconditionally yours, your loving daughter.
Next is Forgiveness, written and performed by Marianne Goodell.
Mom, you had me when you were 36, so maybe it was our age difference, but you never really told me about the birds and the bees. I guess you figured I would learn at school or from friends, or I would ask if I needed to know. I never did ask, too awkward. And I never asked you how you lost your virginity. I assumed since you were born Catholic and grew up during wartime England that it was with Dad after you were married. But I just hope whenever it was, that it was with someone loving and special. Sadly, that was not the case for me. It happened when I was 15 and we were living in London. I had already been at the American school for a year, and during the summer between 9th and 10th grades, my friend Christy was visiting from London, from the States. One evening, I told you we were going to a movie, but instead I took her to a pub that was popular with the rugby players at my school. I was fun to show off my sophisticated teen life in London. She could not believe that at the age of 15, we were sitting in a bar ordering drinks. Sure enough, we ran into 2 rising senior rugby players who I vaguely knew and drank with them until the pub closed. Ned then suggested we go back to his place since his parents were out of town. I so badly wanted to impress him and gain some credit at my new school. And Christy was game. So I called you and said we ran into my girlfriends and we were going to spend the night at Catherine's, which is something I often did. So not a problem. Back at Ned's place, things got hot and heavy. Christy was making out with Ned's friend while Ned led me into his bedroom for some privacy. Since that night, I have asked myself repeatedly why I went along. I guess my innocent, drunken brain thought we would just make out. How naive and unprepared I was, because the next thing I knew, he was forcing himself on me, his strength overpowering me, when a few minutes before he had been this sweet, caring guy. He had my arms pinned and I was struggling and screaming no. Could Christy hear me? Was anyone going to come to my rescue? He couldn't hear me. He had turned into someone else, a violent brute who I did not recognize. Eventually, I gave up the struggle and left my body. I drifted out into the dark, quiet London streets. I wanted to fly home to the comfort of your arms, Mama, but knew there was no way I could actually get home until the first tube train in the morning. Later, I quietly sobbed as I washed the blood from his sheets. Sweet, caring Ned was back, but with the edge of pride over his conquest. That's what I was to him, prey. I walked right into the trap and paid a hefty price. That night, a barricade was built around my vulnerability that took years to crack. I will never forgive him. But can I forgive myself? I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm sorry for lying to you, for making bad decisions. That was one of the darkest periods of my life, and I couldn't share it with you because of the shame. I didn't want to disappoint you. For the first time, I wasn't your little girl who could come home with a skinned knee. I grew up that night and found myself utterly alone. But Mom, don't fret. I am strong and resilient because of you. Your love, support, and belief have helped me to save myself in the darkest times. If I had told you, I know you would have helped me without judgment. I'm learning to hold myself without judgment and forgive myself. Thank you, Mom. I love you dearly.
And next, Chains, written and performed by Veronica Farias.
I want to dedicate this evening to, before I start, to one of my closest and best friends whose mother just passed away a couple hours ago in a car accident. And it made me realize how fragile life was and how things can just change any second. So it's even more challenging to read this letter now. But anyway, here it goes. Dear Mom, I think it's easier to write this letter in English since Spanish is our first language. I think writing in Spanish would require a couple of therapy sessions to get me through. It is very difficult. So in ways, I think it's better like this for now. You were always the kind of mother that people wish they had. You were always there no matter what, to its fullest capacity. People would always say they loved you and everything that you did for your kids. They would love coming to my birthday parties because it was always such a creative event and a magical one on its own way. I always had the coolest birthday parties. As a teenager, you would always help me sneak out without my dad knowing, or picking me up late at a friend's house. No matter what, you were always there. What people see as a fairy tale on the outside is actually torture on the inside. It's like being trapped in a beautiful painting. No matter where I go, you want to know about it. You want to know my secrets. You want to know everything about me. You want to know what I'm up to, and you have no boundaries. This being the perfect mother and going to extremes to take care of me is only hurting me. Anything in excess is no good. There has to be a balance, you know. Like you're suffocating me, and it's very challenging for me to become my own person. It's extremely challenging for me to be truly free, to find myself, even as an adult. Even if you're back in Mexico and I'm in New York, the chains are long. They reach all the way here and they are very heavy. It was even difficult to be married and go through a divorce when you're lurking around asking all the wrong questions with the best intentions, but in fact, it was true agony. How could I be there for him? I could not be there for myself. Even having a best friend feels like a betrayal. Even saying this out loud in front of people feels like a betrayal. This is how deep the claws go. The constant battle of me trying to be me with the idea of what you want me to be, both with equal force and creating no movement. And no movement in death is death while being alive. I know you love me very much and your intentions are noble and good. I would start trusting you the moment you decide to do what's best for me as opposed to what you want. But this is a message that is taking me a while to land. I wish I could tell you that if you truly love me, please let me go. Te quiero con todo mi corazón. Tu hija, Veronica.
And next, L is for written and performed by Susan Jane McDonald.
Dear Mama, Lois Faith, everyone's favorite Lo. 5.5 years ago, I sat in a waiting room with a group of women, some with looks of concern in their eyes, others with boredom etched on their faces, waiting and more waiting until at last my turn. I was led down a narrow hallway to a sterile, colorless room and told to strip to my waist. A technologist entered and proceeded to crush my boobs between 2 plates of glass, tears of pain streaming down my cheeks. Back to the waiting room. Eventually, a nurse came and told me the radiologist needed more pictures of my ample, fibrous breasts. Boobs crushed again, more waiting. Then a different nurse came and got me for an ultrasound. The next day, a phone call from the radiologist telling me something looked suspicious. Further tests required. Boobs crushed between glass. Needle biopsy, ultrasound. Another phone call. It's definite. The big C embedded in my left breast. Mama, I immediately thought of you and your cancer odyssey. Every worst case scenario played out in your long, excruciating battle. The cancer spreading from your breast into your bones and eventually shutting down your body. At every step, you fought so bravely, like a warrior, and you did it with humor, grace, and strength, always showing more concern for your loved ones than yourself. My hero. I learned a lot about the true meaning of courage watching you fight that losing battle. Authentic courage, not from your words, but how you chose to live your final months, days, minutes, seconds. You kept us laughing through it all with your kooky sense of humor. Near the very end, confiding in me that you could go in peace now because my newborn baby looked less and less like its blockhead daddy and more like me every day. There I was, a new mom. We hadn't found out the sex of our baby in advance, but you did. Thanks to my doctor who knew how devastated I was you might never meet your grandchild. He slipped you a note with the sex written on it. I remember you sitting in bed, massaging the charm on your necklace for hours in a day. When my beautiful daughter was born, I understood why. The letter L enclosed in a gold heart. L is for Lois. Months earlier, you had said to me, if it's a girl, don't name her after me because I'm not sure how I feel about my name. We named her Leah. It means gift of love. L is for Leah. Your necklace, my daughter's necklace, my Lily. I am so grateful, Mama, that you got to hold her in your arms. She's all grown up now, a woman, a beauty inside and out. Like you, Mama, my first concern on hearing my diagnosis was for her. What are the implications? You worried about our health up until your last breath. A caregiver to the end, not caretaker, because to take was not in your makeup. You hoped and prayed that none of your daughters would go through anything like your experience. At my first appointment with the surgeon, I confided in her my fear that I would follow in your footsteps and what that would mean for my daughter. She looked me in the eyes and said, "This is not your mother's cancer." And genetic testing proved that I inherited this mutant gene called CHEK2 that explains our cancer, Mama. I am so relieved to tell you that my Leah is negative. I followed in your footsteps, Mama, and I navigated my way through chemotherapy, radiation, and even the loss of my beautiful thick hair falling out in clumps with grace, humor, pluck, and determination. And it's been exactly 5 years since I finished treatment. I fulfill my promise to you, Mama, to take care of myself by seeing my doctor regularly, and I live a good, healthy lifestyle. Like you, I never want my daughter to go through this. I encourage her to take care of her health. What comforts me is the confidence that she is strong, smart, funny, gracious, and kind, just like her grandmother. Rest easy, Mama. We are survivors, warrior women with an unending love for those around us and a zealous appreciation for life. I remember vividly your final words to me. You looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I'm so happy you have a daughter because she will grace your life with love and joy, just as you have mine." It's not your cancer, I promise. L is for love. I love you, Lois Faith.
And finally, written and performed by Sarah Robertson, DNA.
Mom, why do I always want to kill myself? Why am I plagued with thoughts of me hanging under the doorway, purple and puffy? Why do I slip into daydreams that take me to another reality of you finding my dead body? I was told once that my pain is not mine, it's inherited, it's in my DNA. And it was up to me to change that chemistry. I took my deeply wounded inner child by the hand and we walked through the woods of shadows, monsters, and painful memories. We dissected every demon, every lie, every false belief about ourselves. We try to rewrite our herstory. We spent hours huddled by the fire in the deep, dark forest of our soul, writing together on what our lives will look like once we're out of the woods. She is so wild. She's so free. She's so different. I said to myself, looking down at myself, I wish she knew. I wish I knew. Why is it that every time I attempt to climb and rearrange the ladder of my DNA, she always falls? Why do I suddenly lose grip and let her fall into darkness? Why am I not strong enough to keep her close to my chest as I use my other hand to pull us up? Why does she slip? Why does she fall? Why am I not strong enough? People tell me I'm strong. People say I'm filled with happiness and sunlight. Yet they forget I'm an actor, storyteller, fabricator of white lies and seemingly heart-filled responses. For the most part, it feels true, feels right, feels present. But my soul stays in a constant state of nirvana. Only Kurt Cobain isn't there to make me feel less alone. No, this nirvana is soul solitude confinement. And that's where she is. Alone, forgotten, and unseen. It's where I must go every time to pull her out. I have this recurring nightmare of house sitting a house with lots of dogs, little angels, 4 legs, just the purest creatures on earth. In this nightmare, I forget to feed them for days. I forget that they're locked in a room, out of sight, out of mind. When I finally remember them, I run to them in panic and tears, and they're always alive, but just barely. Starved, weak, forgotten. I can't help but to think that this is her sending me messages to feed her, to find her, take care of her, to save her. I can no longer leave her in the woods of nirvana, starved and neglected. I can't lose my grip when I'm rewriting my chemistry. I can't hold on to the guilt, pain, and sadness any longer. I carried it for so long that I can't save myself when the time comes. It's too heavy and I don't want it. You said to me more than once, I always thought I was born to be sad. Well, I'm not. I'm not born to be sad. You can't just pass this down to me so that I can pass it down to my own daughter and then she can pass it down to hers. No, this is a family omen that I refuse to pass down. I'm ending the cycle. I'm saving myself. I'm saving her. I'm saving my daughter. There will be no sadness in my DNA. My inner child asks me often, are we out of the woods yet? And I always say, avoiding eye contact, soon, 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 soon. Today, I take her hand and I look her right in the eyes, her little hazel eyes, and I say, yes, yes, we are out of the woods. We've got enough gear to climb Mount DNA, the biggest mountain we have yet to conquer. We are prepared. We are fed. I will not let her fall again. I make the decision. I'm the parent now. We have enough gear for one more. Would you like me to take your hand too, Mom? It's not too late to change our chemistry. I love you so much. Please take my hand.
Ladies, like to come back and join us for a curtain call and a round of applause. If you would like to unmute yourself, people, give everyone a round of applause. First, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for being a part of Metamorphosis 3, A Letter to My Mother. If you have any questions, now we're going to open up the